Very good afternoon. Hey, on TikTok, what's up? YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm Brian Manning. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. I'm going to take your questions about asylum today, and I'm going to answer them. So leave them in the comments. But first, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Always love to see where you guys are at. We've already got Mr. Dragoon Production PTE Ltd. says, is this Spanish or what? No, this one's English. I have a Spanish language YouTube channel. If you want to find us in Spanish, go to YouTube and search for Asilo Aprobado. But today we're speaking English over on this channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. YouTube, hello. TikTok, hey, say hello. I want to hear where you're at. Who we got? We got Hamid Abdul says, thanks again. You're very welcome. We got Pema. We got Nadum says, good evening, sir. Very happy to see you live. Very, very glad to see you, Nadum. Tell me where you guys are watching from today. Hello on TikTok. Christina Reyes, how are you? Ashu, hello. Good to see you. Hey, guys. So listen, I'm going to answer your questions. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Before I get to your questions, listen, I want to do this. Let me say a couple of words about this topic. I've been getting a lot of questions about this lately. What happens if Donald Trump wins the presidency? I'm going to address that. But listen, first, if you want to get in contact with us to see if we might be able to help you in your asylum case, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Super easy and quick once you get there to schedule a consultation with us. It just takes like 1 or 2 minutes on your mobile phone to set up that consultation with one of our asylum professionals so that we can, get to know you, get to know your case, and see if we think that we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. That's what we do every day, all day. All right. What if Trump wins? What does it mean for asylum seekers? It's not good for asylum seekers, that's for sure. So listen, you look at two things when you're trying to predict how someone will behave. You look at their actions, like what they've actually done in the past, and you look at their words, what they say they're going to do in the future. Trump in the past tried to pretty much completely shut down immigration. He tried to limit it to the greatest extent possible, both like family-based immigration and asylum, humanitarian immigration. And he didn't succeed to the extent that he would have liked or anywhere close to it, mainly because of incompetence, because he had a lot of incompetent people around him at the time that didn't know how to get anything done. Like they didn't know how to construct a program in a way that would pass legal scrutiny, in a way that would get past the courts. So a lot of his programs got struck down and other ones just couldn't be carried out effectively because they were just poorly designed. But there's a lot of concern among experts that this time there's like actually serious, competent people that support Donald Trump and that want to help him in his new administration to actually try to crush immigration. So I am concerned that he'll be more effective this time at crushing immigration, including asylum. So he basically wants to completely close the border to asylum seekers. He wants to do mass deportations, rounding people up, putting them in detention camps before deporting them. J.D. Vance, his vice presidential candidate running mate, said, we'll start with 1 million in our mass deportation scheme. We'll start with a clean 1 million and get that right away. So Trump probably wants to change sort of the interpretation of the asylum laws to make it much harder to qualify. He wants to gum up the system to make it even slower so that people will just give up instead of trying to fight their case to the end and make it harder to win. So it's going to be harder. There are going to be formal policies, I believe, in place that will make it harder to get asylum. But in addition to formal actual changes, like on the books changes and policy changes, there will also just be a greater anti-immigrant sentiment, both at the asylum offices and in immigration courts, that I think is going to make it harder to win asylum. So here's the thing. Listen up. This is super important. If you've had an asylum case pending with USCIS for years and you've been waiting for your interview for years, you should sue the government, and you should do it now. You can sue the government in what's called a Mandamus lawsuit, where you're asking a federal judge to tell the asylum office it has to do its job. Okay, it has to give you your interview and your decision right away. because you're entitled to that. The government's supposed to do its job and take action in a reasonable time on any immigration case. And when they don't do that, you can sue them to make them do it. It's an extremely powerful tool. We've been using it a ton recently in my law firm to help people get their interview scheduled and get their decision so they can win asylum and move on with their life, right? With confidence around their future, confidence in their ability to stay safe, to stay here and build the life here that they want to build. This lawsuit is called a Mandamus lawsuit. It's super effective. We should talk about it. If you're sick of waiting and you want to get your interview, which I recommend that you try to do before Trump potentially takes office in case he wins the White House, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with us. Or if you prefer, do it the old-fashioned way. Pick up the phone, give us a call at 713-909-0401. In TikTok, you can go to my profile and see this. That's the number. I want to talk. I want you to get set up with one of our asylum professionals so we can see if we might be able to help you to secure your future in America through asylum, okay? All right, let's go to the questions. What questions do we have about winning asylum in America? We got Adnan in Florida. Hello, Adnan in Florida. Good to see you. Kate says, hello. Kate, where are you at? We got Oscar Chacon watching from Deltona, Florida. I don't know where that is. What's that near? Is that near to Miami or Orlando? We got Velvet Versa says hello from Texas. We got Harriet in Nashville. We got Stone Edge in Phoenix, Arizona. Can you talk about getting a green card based on asylum, says Rosh. You better believe it. So the question is this. How does getting a green card work after you've won asylum? So listen, after you win asylum, you're on the route to get your green card or permanent residency, as it's called, okay? You can apply for that. You can apply for your green card as soon as you win your asylum case, like the next day. You can't actually get it. Like the government can't say approved and issue it to you until you've been in the United States for 1 year after your grant of asylum. But if you want to apply right away, it's fine. You can basically get into the queue that way because it takes a long time for them to approve the case. It takes like over a year, and it's been taking over a year, almost a year and a half, for people to get to the front of the queue and have their case considered. So by that time, you will have that 1 year of physical presence required to be granted your green card. 1 year after you get your green card, you're eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, which you should do. That's the goal. That's the most stable and best status. Thanks for the question. All right, let us go to TikTok. Can I give the NCLEX exam in New York while my asylum case is pending? I have no idea what that is. Tulsa rule. Tell me what that is. And then I'll tell you. I'll probably tell you I don't know because I don't know what that is, but we'll see. Is the California Service Center for I-765 good? Says Abdallah on TikTok. Thanks for the question, Abdallah. The question is, are some service centers better than others when it comes to applying for your work permit based on your pending asylum application? So listen, it's not really. No, I mean, not really. They're all the same, really. It's true that when it comes to winning your asylum case, yes, there is a huge difference in terms of the approval rate, the asylum approval rate among the different asylum offices. But it's not like that for service centers. For service centers, in terms of like approval or denial, it's probably pretty much about the same. Okay. Also, in terms of like the timeline, how long it takes for them to get to and consider your application for your work permit, your EAD, it's probably about the same. The good news is, like, for first-time applicants based on pending asylum, it's really quick at all of the service centers. It's usually about a month after you apply, you get your work permit approval. All right. So don't worry about, which service center am I with? Not a big deal. All right. Thank you so much for asking that question. I appreciate the chance to answer it. Let's go see what's going on YouTube. Nadum says, I'm watching from New York. Nice. I love New York. I love New York City. One of the greatest cities in the world. Velvet versus, I saw that USCIS published data. The majority of cases were dismissed by the Houston court. The office actually has a low rejection rate, but only interviewed a tiny portion. Is this true? If you're talking about the immigration court, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but let me try to address it like this. I think the question is this. Why have so many cases been getting dismissed from the immigration courts? So listen, if you look at statistics, you'll see that a huge number of cases have gotten dismissed from immigration courts recently. Okay. In normal times, an asylum case either gets an approval or a denial at immigration court. But recently we've seen that a whole bunch of them are getting dismissed. What does that mean? Dismissal is where usually it's the government that wants to do this. Sometimes it's the applicant. Actually, often it's the applicant. It's where the government prosecutors say, you know what? This guy's not a priority for us to deport. They're not a criminal. They're not a terrorist. We don't really care about them. They can stay if they want, honestly. Or at least it's not a priority to deport them. And so they tell the judge that. The judge says, okay, case dismissed. Your case disappears. You can't win asylum because you don't have a case pending unless you apply with USCIS. That's a little tricky. Talk to an asylum lawyer about that if that's you. All right. So, but listen, the idea here is that the huge rate of, or the huge number that we see of dismissals is because of a current Biden administration policy where they're agreeing to dismiss cases really easily. If Trump is elected president, that will go away. It absolutely will not continue. All right. So that is, I hope that answers your question. That's why you see a huge number of dismissals. It doesn't mean that the people go on to win asylum. It doesn't necessarily mean that they lose. If they apply again with USCIS, they'll get a chance. If you already had an asylum interview with USCIS and you apply with them after your case is dismissed from immigration court, USCIS has said that they're not going to give you another interview. They're going to send you straight back to court where you're going to be in deportation proceedings again. If your case was dismissed against your will and you want to fight your asylum case, that's okay, or that's a good thing, I guess. But if you don't want to be in deportation proceedings, you don't want to fight your case, you just want to lay low because maybe you don't have a strong case, then that's obviously not ideal. All right, let's take a question from TikTok. All right. Thanks, Saeed. Nice. My status changed only on my application expedite interview. What do you mean, Noor? My status, what's your question? Only application expedite interview. How long does my AD card take to arrive after it says card produced? It's been 15 days. Wow. All right, here's the question. How long is it going to take for your EAD card, your work permit card, right, to arrive in the mail after you see on the USCIS website that the case status says card produced? Listen, first, unfortunately, I got to tell you, you can't really trust that page, okay? That page, the case status page that USCIS uses, that system is wrong all the time. They make mistakes all the time. It's just, honestly, it's pretty meaningless. Like I tell my clients, like, don't even look at it because it's not going to tell you good information. It might give you hope when you shouldn't have, or it might do the opposite. It might make you think you're getting denied when you're not. But listen, if USCIS really did produce your card and put it in the mail, it should get to you in like 4 or 5 days, not 15 days, as you asked. So that it could be a problem. Listen, I recommend that you use the My USCIS website, do a chat with Emma, and try to explain the situation and see if they can check into it for you. Okay? That's what I recommend. All right, let us. All right, good question. Etc. says, can we add how the current country conditions affect us in the personal statement? Good question. The question is, should you discuss in your personal statement that you write for your asylum case, should you discuss how the country conditions might affect you? Listen, generally speaking, I don't think you should really talk a lot about country conditions. You should only talk about country conditions, what's going on in your country, to the extent that it's like directly affecting you. You don't need to go into a bunch of specific examples that you've seen in the news and stuff and spend a lot of time in your declaration or in your interview talking about this. That is your lawyer's job, okay? When an asylum applicant does it, the officer tends to think like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. This is what I do. Let me do this. You don't do that. You just tell me about you and why you're at risk and what's happened to you. I want to do that as your lawyer. I don't want you to do it in your declaration. That's how we approach it, at least, and we think that's the best way forward. Okay? So the answer really is like, no, I don't think you should only do it to the extent that like it's directly relevant to you, that like you can point to something that's going on in the country and say like, look, they're targeting these exact same people like me. That's why I'm afraid. But I honestly think you should hire a lawyer and have them do a legal brief in which they cite to the country conditions and hook it up, do an analysis that connects this back to the law to show why you meet the requirements for asylum. All right. Adnan says, what are the chances for Syrian citizens to win asylum? The question is a Syrian citizen who applies for asylum in the United States likely to win their case? The answer is, it depends. You really can't, unfortunately, you can't like generalize based just on a country. You really have to show the officer that you particularly meet all the requirements for asylum. And that's a pretty hard thing to do. Now, having said that, yeah, I mean, there's certain countries that because of what's going on there and because of the people that are fleeing, seeking asylum, do tend to have higher asylum approval rates. Now, from Syria, the country's had its share of problems, right? So you might be tempted to think, oh, well, I should win easily. I'm from Syria. It's not like that. It's not like that. You have to show why you personally qualify for asylum. So yeah, lots of people from Syria lose their case. Lots of them do. So you got to give it all you've got. You got to give yourself the best possible chance to win your case. I want to talk with you about that, by the way. Listen, if you want to talk with us about, how we might be able to, whether we might be able to help you in your case, do this. Go to the website, winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum lawyers so that we can, or asylum professionals, so that we can see, what's going on and tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain to you in some great detail exactly what steps we're going to take. That's something that I don't like about the way that a lot of lawyers operate, is they don't tell their clients how they're going to help them. Because honestly, most of them don't actually have like a plan or a strategy for approaching a case. We have what we develop for every case, what we call an asylum action plan. So here's the question. What is this asylum action plan that I'm always talking about? So listen, most immigration lawyers don't really have a strategy for winning your case. They don't have a plan. They don't have some kind of framework that they use to systematically approach cases and drawing on and developing and working through the facts of your particular case and fitting them into a framework and using a system to produce the strongest case possible. I was shocked actually when I was an asylum officer with the government that most lawyers did virtually nothing to help their clients, okay? Most of them helped them with a little bit with the application form and that was it. That's not enough. Your lawyer needs to be doing a whole lot more. We have what is called an asylum action plan. There's 3 elements. The application packet, the asylum roadmap, which is where we fight the case on paper, and then the preparation and representation. Each of these is a detailed, intensive process to give you the best possible chance of winning your asylum case. So, I recommend that you ask any lawyer that you're thinking about working with, like, tell me exactly what you're going to do to help me. It's not enough just for them to be like, oh, we're going to look at your case and we're going to maybe you'll write a declaration and we'll talk with you a few minutes before your interview about like what kind of questions to expect. That is not enough. Winning asylum is hard. It requires hard work from you. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work. Both you and your lawyer should be working extremely hard on giving you the best possible chance to win your case. All right. So you want to ask you any prospective or potential asylum lawyer, tell me what you're going to do for me. Mr. I read how Nazis killed Jewish people and understood why asylum was created, says Yusuf Beck. Yeah, it's a large part of it. Like our modern asylum system grew out of World War II when a lot of countries in the world were like, hey, we did not do enough to help people fleeing persecution. And so that was the major thing that spurred the adoption by the United Nations of a convention, like an agreement on protecting refugees. And then a lot of countries, most UN members, went on to adopt local laws like we did that set up a framework for the asylum systems. Yeah, you're right. All right. Okay. Hi. Mama says, I responded to an NOIR, my case actively reviewing now from February 2024. Can I upload more evidence supporting documents now in my USCIS account? Good question. The question is, let's say that you've already passed your deadline to respond to a notice of intent to deny or a notice of intent to revoke. Let's say you're past the deadline they gave you to respond. Well, can you just go back in now and upload more documents or upload more evidence now to your My USCIS account, or maybe send them in by physical mail to the asylum office? You can. Listen, no, I wouldn't do it. I don't think it's going to help you. I mean, I guess under the theory, like, oh, there's a chance they might look at it and consider it, even though it's, weeks or months or a year late. But I think the chances of them considering it and actually looking at it and taking it into account are so low that no, I don't think it makes sense to do it. I don't think they're going to consider it, unfortunately. All right. But good luck with that. That's tough. The notice of intent to revoke is really, really tough. It's tough to win that. But I'm hoping for the best for you. All right. Let us go to TikTok. All right. Harry Belly says, spelled Harry Belly, says, how long after the lawsuit does it take to be called for the interview? Good question. So the question is, if you sue the U.S. government in a mandamus lawsuit to force them to finally give you your interview, how long is it going to take? How long is it going to take to actually get the interview after you file the lawsuit? Well, to give you the lawyerly answer, it depends. So it varies. There's not like a set timeline. And I can tell you, though, we've been doing this a lot lately in the last 2 years in my law firm, and it works. Our clients love it. This mandamus lawsuit to force your asylum interview is a powerful tool. All right. The timeline is like this. You file the lawsuit. The government lawyer has 60 days to respond and tell the judge what their position is in the matter. Usually it's at that stage, after some negotiation, they call me and say, Brian, we don't want to fight this case. Here's your client's interview. But the interview might be a few weeks from then. We get the letter then, but it might be a few weeks or even a few months. So on average, we've been seeing maybe 4 months after we sue that they get the interview. All right. It varies, but probably that's what we've seen on average, about 4 months after suing that our clients have the interview. And then usually the decision follows within a couple or few weeks after the interview. And listen, that might sound like a long time, like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait 4 or 5 months to get my decision after suing, which I can appreciate that it's frustrating and annoying that is kind of a long time. But listen, you've got to consider the alternative. If your case has been pending with USCIS for years and you don't take this action, you don't sue them, you're almost certainly going to be waiting for multiple years more to actually get your interview the organic way or naturally, which is to say without suing. So yeah, even though the process of suing is probably going to take a few months to get your interview and your decision, I know that's frustrating, but it's better than the alternative, which is not suing and having to wait multiple years, almost certainly. All right, listen, call us, or better yet, go to winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. Listen, we used to charge just under $200 for this, but right now it's free. All right. I don't know how long we'll keep doing this for free, but at least for right now, at the time that we're doing this live, it's free. So take advantage of that and call us. You can call us at 713-909-0401 and schedule your asylum strategy session. Do it right now, like right now. I want to go check. I'm going to go check our calendaring tool software after this and see who all signed up. I want to talk with you. I want one of our asylum professionals to have the opportunity to assess your case, get to know you a little bit, understand your immigration goals, what really matters to you, and see what's going on and tell you whether we think we can help you. All right. That's what we want to do. All right. Let us go to YouTube. Nice. Oscar says it's closer to Daytona Beach. Interesting. When does the Houston office usually do the interview after the Mandamus lawsuit? Usually it's quick. Houston's quick. It's usually, I would say, within 3 months of us filing the lawsuit usually. Not always. Sometimes it could be 5, it could be 6, could even be 7 or 8. But it's usually quicker. Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's tough. All right. So, Wael Amani says, I received an asylum rejection from the New York office, and I have not completed 6 months of my visa yet, and I've had it for 2 months, and they told me that I am not entitled to a work permit because my status is legal. Should I apply again or go to court or what? And if I am pending in court, will I get a work permit? Please clarify all possibilities. I think I understand your situation, so I'm going to try to address it like this. The question is, what happens if you get your asylum interview and you get denied while you still have legal status, while you're still in valid tourist status? So remember, usually tourist status is granted for 6 months when you come into the country. And some people get their asylum interview. Recently, we've started to see some people get their interview super quick, like within a month or 2 of applying for various reasons. And so let's say that you apply, you get denied. What can you do? Can you get your work permit? Can you apply for asylum again? Can you still get asylum? No, you're in a tough spot. You can't get a work permit because you don't have a pending asylum application. If your asylum application was denied, it disappears. You can't get a work permit based on that. You cannot just ask to go to immigration court. That's not a thing you can do. If you apply again with USCIS, they're going to deny you and say, unless you can show us that circumstances have changed, we're not going to consider your case again. So those are not really options, unfortunately. So what can you do? I mean, it's probably not something, honestly, for us to talk about with you, because it's very unlikely that, in my opinion, based on what you've told us so far, that you have a route to get status through asylum. We only do asylum. So I think you should talk to an immigration lawyer who focuses on other aspects of immigration, like family-based immigration or employment-based immigration, to see if you might have any options in those areas. Okay. That's what I think. All right. Yusuf Beck says, you were cute when you were in Russia studying, watched your photos. I guess those are public on Facebook of some photos of me when I was 20 studying in Russia. Nice. Roche says, does the 5-year clock for citizenship start as soon as you're granted asylum? Good question. How does the timing work? Here's the question. How does the timing work for getting U.S. citizenship after you've won asylum? So listen, here's how it works. You got to get your green card first. You got to get permanent residency, as we've discussed. You're eligible to get that after you've been here for 1 year after getting your asylum grant, okay? But the next step, the next clock is 4 years. It's 4 years from getting your green card. Let me rephrase. When you get your green card, 4 years later, you're eligible to apply for citizenship. The problem, the painful thing, is that it takes a while to get your green card. After you become eligible, it still might take another year and a half, or 2 years to actually be granted your green card. And the 4 years that you have to wait to be able to apply for citizenship do not start until you actually get the green card approval. So in reality, it's probably going to be 5, 6, 7 years to get your citizenship from the time that you won your asylum case. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that. Do people get their work permit before the interview or after the interview? Good question. The question is this. Are you going to get your work permit in your asylum case before you have your asylum interview or afterward? Well, listen, it could be before, it could be after. Usually it's before. Here's how it works. You're eligible to apply for a work permit based on your pending asylum case 150 days after you apply for asylum. Now, for the last couple of years, most people have not had their asylum interview at that stage. Most people have had to wait for years to get their asylum interview. By the way, if you've been waiting multiple years for your asylum interview with USCIS, we should talk about suing the government to force them to give you your interview. But recently we have seen some people, because of some changes in policies, get their interviews really fast within like a month or so of applying for asylum. So if you apply right now for asylum, you might actually get your interview before you're eligible to even apply for your work permit. It just depends on the 150 days issue. That's when you're eligible to apply for the work permit, 150 days after applying for asylum. Okay? If you get denied, if you get your asylum interview and you get denied while you still have legal status, like tourist status, then you will never get a work permit. Yeah, that's how that works. All right. Listen, that's it for today. Thank you for being here with me on the Asylum Answers Show. I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we're based in Texas. But listen, we help people all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Doesn't matter where you live. Call us, or better yet, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, to schedule an asylum strategy session. Do that like now. We'd love to talk with you, tell you whether we think we can help you, all right? I want to see you soon on another live here, and it's a pleasure, truly. It's a pleasure to support you in your asylum journey. Thanks, and take care, guys. Bye. YouTube, guys, talk to you later. See ya. TikTok, have a